The world watches them with eager eyes, scrutinizing their every move, their every smile, their every interaction, yet something about them never quite sits right. The perfect couple, the dream romance, the kind of love story that seems too good to be true. Alina and Nathan are the couple that everyone admires. They radiate the kind of effortless chemistry that turns heads. They hold hands in public. They share inside jokes that make them burst into laughter. They steal soft glances at each other when they think no one is looking. But there is something in their eyes, something buried deep behind the surface that only the keenest observers notice, something that whispers of a secret that neither of them dares to voice. Their relationship is a masterpiece of careful construction, each move, each word, each gesture meticulously orchestrated to create the illusion of love, the kind of love that the world desperately wants to believe in, the kind of love that sells stories, that creates headlines, that fuels the fantasies of hopeless romantics. But behind closed doors, the reality is far different. Behind closed doors, Elena and Nathan are strangers bound by convenience rather than passion. They met not through some serendipitous encounter, not through the natural pull of fate, but through a carefully arranged agreement, an agreement born of necessity and ambition. They were both rising stars, both on the brink of something greater, but they needed something more. They needed a story that would captivate the masses, a story that would make them unforgettable, a love story. It was a mutual decision, a pragmatic one. At first, they thought it would be easy. They thought they could play the part without losing themselves in it. But over time, the lines began to blur, the rehearsed affection, the scripted moments, the calculated tenderness began to take on a life of its own, and soon they were no longer certain where the performance ended and where reality began. The pressure mounted. With every public appearance, with every staged kiss, with every exaggerated display of devotion, they felt the weight of expectation pressing down on them, demanding more, demanding perfection, demanding that they continue the act no matter the cost. And so they did. Because the truth was that neither of them could afford to stop. Neither of them could afford to be exposed. Neither of them could afford to let the illusion shatter. But something changed. Something they never anticipated. Something that neither of them could control somewhere along the way. Somewhere amidst the deception, amidst the artifice, amidst the relentless pursuit of the perfect illusion. Something real began to take root. Something fragile, something unexpected. Alina found herself drawn to Nathan in ways she never intended. She found herself watching him when he was not performing. When he was not pretending, she found herself captivated by the moments when he let his guard down, when he was simply himself, and Nathan, he found himself feeling the same for her. He found himself longing for her, even when there was no audience, even when there was no need to keep up the act. They fought against it at first. They resisted. They reminded themselves that this was not real, that this was never supposed to be real. But the heart does not obey logic. The heart does not abide by contracts and agreements. And so despite their best efforts, despite their attempts to deny it, despite the fear of what it could mean, they fell. They fell into something neither of them understood. They fell into something they could not explain. They fell into something that terrified them. Because for the first time in their meticulously constructed relationship, something was real. For the first time, they were not faking it. For the first time, they were not acting. For the first time, they were not lying, and that realization changed everything. It changed the way they looked at each other. It changed the way they touched. It changed the way they spoke. It changed the way they felt. But with that change came uncertainty. With that change came fear, because the truth was no longer something they could control, because the truth was now something they could lose, because the truth was dangerous, because now they had something real to protect. Now they had something real to fight for. Now they had something real to fear. And the world still watched, still scrutinized, still speculated. But now there was something different. Now there was something beneath the surface that even the keenest observers could not quite define. Now there was something that neither Elena nor Nathan could explain. Something that had not been part of the plan. Something that had not been scripted. Something that neither of them had ever expected. And as they stood before the cameras, as they smiled, as they held hands, as they played their roles, One final question lingered in the air, a question neither of them could answer, a question that haunted them even in their most private moments, a question that would not let them go.